Welcome to The Peel. I'm your host, Turner Novak, founder of Banana Capital. Today's guest is Matteo Franceschetti, co-founder and CEO of 8 Sleep. Matteo and his team created one of the original breakout consumer health products in 2014, quietly building a business that's raised over $300 million and was reportedly free cash flow positive in the first half of 2025. But things weren't always easy. Matteo shares the challenges of starting a hardware company, why hardware companies have stronger moats, and the fundraising mindset he adopted that eventually got Khosla Ventures and Founders Fund to invest. We also get into the importance of sleep, how the company's Sleep Butler uses AI to help you sleep better, and the big opportunity building more consumer health products. A quick reminder, I publish 2 episodes of The Peel every week, exploring the world's greatest startup stories just like this one. Check out the back catalog of over 100 episodes, including last week's with Rahul Vora, founder of Superhuman Male. Now, let's talk to Matteo after a quick word from Numeral. This episode is brought to you by Numeral. Numeral is the fastest, easiest way to stay compliant with US sales tax and global VAT. It's easy to set up, and they automatically handle all registrations, ongoing filings, and their API provides sales tax rates wherever you need them with all the integrations you need. Numeral supports over 2,000 customers in both the US and globally, and they pride themselves on white glove, high-touch customer service. Plus, they guarantee their work, and they'll cover the difference if they mess anything up. They're fresh off a fundraise, closing a $35 million Series B from Mayfield, which they're going to reinvest into building an even better product. If you want to put your sales tax on autopilot, check out Numeral at their new domain, numeral.com. That's numeral.com for the end-to-end platform for sales tax and VAT compliance. Matteo, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I was just joking before we started recording that I've got terrible sleep the past couple nights. So I think it's kind of ironic that we're doing this episode right now while I'm in like the worst cognitive sleep state that I've probably been in a while.
I'm the perfect guest to be here today. So maybe I can give some tips.
Yeah, I want to ask you for tips, but I guess really quick for people who don't know what 8 Sleep is, I'm hoping a lot of listeners are maybe like generally familiar with it, but can you just kind of explain what it is, and we can kind of talk about a bunch of different topics from there?
Yeah, of course. We invented a technology that improves your sleep. It's a cover that you can install on top of any mattress, your own mattress, and it will change your body temperature hundreds of times per night to maximize your sleep performance. So each side of the bed can have a different temperature. So if you sleep with a partner, your partner will have a different temperature based on their needs. And by controlling this temperature during the whole night, it will make sure you fall asleep faster, you get more deep sleep or more REM, and you wake up more refreshed.
And this may be a kind of a rhetorical question for some people, but why is sleep so important?
When you look at health is based on 3 pillars. One is sleep, one is nutrition, and one is fitness. But at the end of the day, even if there are 3 pillars, one is the true foundation, which is sleep. Because if you don't sleep, you will not have the energy to work out today, and you will probably crave junk food. So sleep comes first. After a good night of sleep, you're ready to go to the gym. You're ready to eat healthy, the right type of food. And it's probably, honestly, is even the simplest thing to take care of. If you can just go to sleep and make sure you sleep at least 7 to 9 hours, and you're just disciplined, it's much easier than going to the gym every single day.
Yeah, like every person, no matter what, sleeps every day. Like it's not like you can't not sleep. Like you have to do it.
Yeah. But sometimes it's an afterthought, or we think, oh, I have to do all this and that, and you just go to bed and you pretend to fall asleep and wake up fully refreshed after 7, 8, 9 hours. And it doesn't work like that for your body. And so the example I usually give to people is, I don't have kids yet, but I have a lot of friends with kids. And when they have a kid, right, they have a certain discipline, a routine with their kid. They do the bath always at the same time. They put them to sleep at the same time. They wake them up at the same time. And then we become adults and we pretend to forget that, but our biological state is still the same.
Why do people forget it? Like, why do people not prioritize sleep as much as they should if it's so important?
Because I think they're busy. I think they think it's something they can compress. Obviously, sometimes, you go out with friends, you want to have a couple of drinks, and you go back home late, and you want to chill. And so you tend to sacrifice your sleep But at the end of the day, you shouldn't, because you just need to be disciplined, and then your body will adjust and you will fall asleep at the same time. You will wake up at the same time, and probably your sleep will be more stable. And then there are technologies like ours that can help you to take it to the next level. But even if you just nail the basics, that should be enough to help you have a pretty solid sleep.
So low hanging fruit, just for somebody who wants to like listen to this and just immediately improve. It's like stick to a schedule and make sure that you get, I don't know what you said, 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep. I think it depends, right? On kind of like REM cycles and all that stuff.
Yeah. So the most important thing, even if you go to a sleep doctor because you have insomnia, the first thing they will fix is your routine. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. You just literally train your body to develop, the melatonin and to develop the state of sleep at the right time and to wake up naturally at the same time. Then that is one. Second is to start preparing for bed. And so we are actually running a study, and the study is proving that it's not so much about using the phone or not before bed, but it's the type of content that you consume before bed that really matters in this quality of your sleep. So you need to start relaxing. You can keep using your phone. If you're chatting with your best friend about an amazing trip you guys had 3 years ago, that's completely fine. If you are fighting with your boss about a certain topic, you might not sleep that well. So preparation, routine, temperature in the bedroom, right? If you have our product is one thing, but even just setting the temperature somewhere between 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit in your bedroom, very important. And those usually are the basics.
And that seems to be one of the big features of the product is temperature control. Why is that so important, like temperature control and sleeping?
Yeah, so your body temperature already changes during your sleep. And so what we are doing is not that we are reinventing the wheel. We're just helping your body to do what it's supposed to do. And as soon as you fall asleep, your body temperature should drop, go as low as possible during deep sleep. And then 3-4 hours before you wake up, it should start rising. Then at the same time, there is plenty of medical evidence that in deep sleep, you need a different temperature from REM, for example, which are the two of the main phases of sleep phases. And so based on our data, we are able to adjust the temperature, again, hundreds of times per night based on your sleep stages, based on your movement, based on the temperature of the bedroom, and many other factors. We optimize everything for you. It's like having a sleep butler that keeps adjusting things while you're unconscious.
Interesting. So it's like, in theory, you could, I don't know, like have an actual person that's there, like changing the temperature of the room that you're in or something like that. Or like,
you're in the 70s or maybe in early 1900, and you could literally have a human butler who was there adjusting the temperature, but they wouldn't know in real time your biometrics. So they would have to be a PhD sleep butler with some form of sensors to monitor your sleep stages, your heart rate, your respiration, and adjust things in real time.
And so the way it works is, so it's a pad that goes on top of your mattress, and it just like, how does it work that it knows what to do? Like what all goes into that?
Yeah. So it's a very thin pad. It doesn't change the feeling of your mattress. And inside there are sensors that are able to track your heart rate, your movement, your respiration. And based on that, we can infer sleep stages and sleep quality. And then there are micro tubes, and we circulate water at a different temperature for each side of the bed. So next to the bed, there is what we call the hub, which is a small tower where we have our thermal engine. So it's literally like having a Ferrari of sleep, as there is this engine that sits next to your bed. It's extremely quiet. It's impossible for you to know if it's on or off. We tested that. And based on these different sleep stages and our AI, which is called autopilot, we adjust in real-time temperature to help you fall asleep, so you can fall asleep 15-20% faster and get more deep sleep, more REM. And overall, what we see is that you can get up to 30% better sleep quality. The most beautiful thing for us is that a lot of our customers, they have a wearable, and they can see their own metrics on their own wearable. So it's not just a sleep reporting the metric. Obviously, we have an app with all your sleep metrics and your heart rate and your respiration. But if you have an Aura or a Whoop or an Apple Watch and you have your history, you will start seeing a change in your metrics before and after using our technology. Or if you travel and you come back and you compare the data, you will see your recovery was much poorer while you were traveling than when you're back home.
That's been one of my things I was almost like scared about with 8 Sleep is because I run into this when I'm traveling is I have a really good pillow. We bought a couple like probably like right before COVID, we bought one of those like $2,000 mattresses that is very nice. And then when you travel, you go to a hotel and it's like shitty mattress, the sheets are itchy, maybe like the hotel room is bad temperature, all that stuff. But like you run into that scary problem of like, oh man, my home bed is so good that I literally cannot sleep if I'm not at home.
Yeah. Well, it's true that at the end of the day, you spend most of the time at home, hopefully. And so the key is to maximize at least all the nights that you're at home. And then in the future, maybe there will be other technologies that we can offer to our users for when they travel.
Is that possible to build something like that?
Yeah, we have some ideas. In startups, it's always a matter of bandwidth and priorities. So we could build it in 6 months from now if we wanted. The question is, you do that or you do something else. It's just the trade-off.
Yeah. Well, I think I saw, don't you do some hotel partnerships where like certain hotels have 8 Sleep covers already?
Yeah. We had a partnership with Equinox Hotel in New York, and we are talking to multiple hotels. So that it could be another easy way where at some point there will be some hotels that have just affiliated and they have an 8 Sleep in their main streets.
Okay. And you mentioned that you're able to use AI to do this stuff. I mean, what are you actually doing there? Is it it's using LLMs to do something? What's actually happening?
We have been using hardcore AI for now many years, now 5+, because at the end of the day, the key of what we do, there's 2 key components. On one side, there is the hardware with all the sensors. And the other one is our cloud computing, where we stream the data to the cloud. We run our AI, so extremely advanced models that can detect first all the different parameters, all the different biometrics. And second, now they're also able to triangulate and take action for you. And so let's say that you had a late meal, or let's say that you trained really late, we will automatically adjust the temperature based on how your body is responding. Or if you had alcohol and we see a heart rate that is accelerated. So this goes back to the Butler, the Sleep Butler with PhD level. There is a PhD sleep agent that on the cloud is monitoring in real time all the information you gave us plus your biometrics, and it keeps tweaking things to maximize your sleep performance. Then in parallel, when you wake up in the morning, this PhD sleep agent also reviews all your data and it comes back to you with insights. And so there is also where we can show the power of our AI, because what we started noticing is our models are reaching a point where are becoming smarter than us. And they can triangulate certain types of data and come up with certain potential risks or certain health conditions we were not even thinking of. That's the power of now reaching the scale that we have reached, where you're able to feed this data into the models, and the models can literally save lives. I received an email recently from a customer who said, you guys literally saved my life. My metrics were upside down. I went straight to ER. They found a problem. I had an immediate surgery, and that saved my life.
Wow. And how does it actually work? Is it depending on like how your weight is distributed on the pad and like heat, and like do you need to have your skin touching it in order for it to measure it? Like it kind of seems like a pretty tricky to get all that to work.
So there are sensors more or less at the chest level, so behind your back. At the end of the day, you should almost imagine that the pod, our technology, from a sensor standpoint, is almost like if you had a doctor with a stethoscope on your back during the night. That's We also detect snoring, but we don't use microphones. Everything is based on vibrations. It's literally the same technology of a stethoscope, but imagine Tesla making a 5.0 stethoscope that shares to the cloud where there is the most advanced AI, the information, and the AI comes back to you with everything you need to know about your health and your longevity.
So with all the data that you have and you're collecting, just like on aggregate over all these people, what is kind of the most interesting or surprising thing that you've kind of come across? Like it literally can be anything, but I'm assuming there's some interesting stuff.
Well, now is so cool because with AI, we are really unlocking the next frontier of longevity. And so right now there are hundreds of Matteos, digital twins, replicating my health, my sleep, and my health policies for the next 10 and 20 years. And they are stimulating different behaviors. And based on that, we can understand what I should be doing or not to make sure that the healthiest in 10 years from now and 20 years from now. Then at the same time, AI, by correlating different data and behavior, can have a prediction about the risk that I develop Alzheimer or diabetes and all these kind of things. And the more data we are able to feed into the model, the more the model will be accurate. And so soon you should expect that you can upload the data also from other sources. It could be blood work, it could be DNA. And all that will just make this model more accurate at predicting my health 10, 20, 30 years down the line.
Yeah, and you kind of, a lot of people, you'll kind of say like, how do you build a successful AI company right now? You need to capture like a new data source that no one else has data and like build this like proprietary, data stream. And I mean, it kind of seems like you've done that with the pot or like with the pads and with, I mean, I'm assuming you can make like a blanket. I know there's like an app component. I'm assuming you could make like some sort of wearable device. Like you could probably build a lot of these different things over time to capture a lot of different data that is previously not being captured, I would assume.
I always think of data in two buckets, particularly right now with this AI wave. On one side, you want to have your own data as a company because you don't want to rely on external data. Otherwise, you don't have a moat and you will be commoditized soon. Then the second bucket is this data needs to be used in terms of intelligence for the benefit of the customer. And that's all that we do. So we give back. So essentially, we create an AI layer in the middle where there is the data that is being fed into the model. We are AI experts in terms of health and longevity applied to your data, and we give the data back to you. We don't do anything else with the data except giving back to you and following all the standards in terms of security and privacy and all that. But that is what really makes me really proud because it's almost a modern form of medicine. And that is where we want to extend your life, help you live a longer and healthier life and to be able to give back to your loved ones.
Yeah. And one really interesting thing that you mentioned there was relying on external parties and third parties. I know recently we're recording this the day after the great AWS outage. I think this episode's coming out on, it's either Thanksgiving or Black Friday. I know we were going to do a little like Thanksgiving promo related to that, like a Black Friday promo related to the episode. But when we were recording this, you're fresh off like AWS went down across, I don't know, a large portion of the internet. What happened on your guys' end and how did you fix it?
Yeah, there were some devices that were impacted. And so some functionalities, they didn't work for some hours as they were expected. And so we took two actions. The first one was we worked all night long to make sure that all the functionalities were restored. And so everything is working properly right now. And so there is no disruption at all. That was the P0. Then the P1, which is what we are currently working on, and we work on that the whole night, is also to make sure that this doesn't happen ever again. And there are a couple of ways to do that. One, we have a fallback solution where you will be able to just control through Bluetooth the device. And so if there is no Wi-Fi or if there is an outage from our cloud providers like AWS, you will still be able to fully control your device like if nothing happened. And so there will be no disruption for the sleep of our users moving forward. And I'm really proud of how the team responded, because this is something that usually requires several months. But between hard work and AI and the latest tools, we expect to release something by the end of today or tomorrow, the latest.
Interesting. So by the time people are hearing this, it's all been shipped and released. I think we're gonna throw this up on Twitter for people, but people listening to the full podcast, I guess that goes to show how fast you can actually move. Like some people don't realize how fast you can move on things. What was the reason that happened? Like I'm assuming you guys didn't get much sleep last night.
No, we didn't. I mean, this is something that almost never happens, right? It never happens for a prolonged period of time. So even if a cloud provider might not be available for half an hour or an hour, then that wouldn't impact our devices. So here it was extended for a multiple hours, and the key is just to build multiple backup solutions instead than just few. And so we are adding more solutions to make sure that this is not going to happen again. And again, last night everything worked properly, everything was restored, and we fixed it.
Nice. That's always good. I know that 8 Sleep, you have this sleep score that kind of ranks or like sort of shows you how well your sleep was. I'm assuming what were sleep scores like internally at the company the past 2 days?
It was pretty bad, even because our engineers that code the outage very soon, they were still up at 2 a.m. 2 days ago working, and they code that. And that is why we were able to also start showing in the app the message that there was an outage. And then since then, substantially, we kept working nonstop, and we will keep working nonstop until when we ship this backup solution with Bluetooth control that can make sure that if there is an outage, nothing happens to your device and more than to your sleep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like pretty quick turnaround. I guess what else are you guys cooking in terms of product roadmap over the next couple months, couple years, decade? How do you just think about what kind of opportunities you have?
We think always in two buckets. One, there is hardware, and we're working on a lot of new products that will come out fairly soon. And I'm really excited. So we'll keep doubling down on sleep enhancement. That is our bread and butter, but with more functionalities. So we spoke about temperature, but another feature we have is we can raise your head if you're snoring and you will stop snoring. So we sell you a base that goes underneath the bed. And as we detect snoring, we immediately raise your head, and that will mitigate the snoring. And a lot of our customers absolutely love that feature. So you should imagine more things that we will control with the Sleep Butler, the sleep agent. You can think of light and noise and air quality and oxygen, everything that we can optimize while you're asleep, we'll do it. And this is on the side. On the software side, we have an internal beta already of a new page where we really maximize the power of AI. And so this sleep agent will have its own page, and it will be able to share in real time insights that change during the day based on the data that we collect. And instead of just giving you a wall with, 20, 30 metrics, which we have in the sleep report, it will be this butler that will be able to report to you only what matters, what happened during the night, if there is a certain trend, a summary of the night, and also certain recommended behaviors or changes that the agent can do to your bed for the following night to maximize your sleep.
Interesting. And I like that you call it a butler and not like an AI agent, because I don't know, it just makes it a little bit more human, makes it a little bit more like easy to identify with as a consumer.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so I guess I want to ask you, kind of going back to the earlier days of the company, but also I think personally, are you originally from Italy? Like, did you grow up in Italy?
Yeah, born and raised in Italy. I moved here just 14 years ago now.
Oh wow. Okay. I very like not planned, but I've actually invested in 2 companies. With one of them is actually based in Milan, Italian founders, and then one, she's like half Italian, half Venezuelan, and is in San Francisco. But I never thought I'd be investing in a bunch of Italian founders, but I guess there's actually a lot, and they seem to be pretty good. All the ones I've met are pretty, they're crushing it. So
Thank you. The quality in Europe, I mean, the top 1% in Europe is incredible, as good as the US. It's obviously much harder there. I did a startup there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's very hard to raise money. So we had to be profitable since from the beginning. And that is how we made it happen. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for us. And so the VC fundraising landscape is much more difficult. And that is why the ones that they make it, particularly if they remain in Italy, they are really world class because it was so impossible or so hard for them that if they made it happen, it's just because they are insanely good.
Yeah. Have you seen that one account on Twitter? It's called Compliant VC. And it's this like parody account of a VC in Europe. And he just tweets about how European startups are way better than San Francisco startups because, in Europe, they like support the government and they follow regulations and they help us increase tax revenue and stuff like. And he'll like make a joke about how like, wow, I just met a founder in building in Berlin. I can't wait to spend 6 months, doing my diligence and then a 3 months regulatory review. And then in 9 months, when I wire them the money, they're going to get ready to build or something. Like it's just extreme, over the top, kind of like it's kind of like that over there, right? Like it's kind of not an exaggeration at the same time.
Yeah, everything, all the procedure. I used to be a lawyer, so I understand the legal landscape. And even just incorporating a company first is fairly expensive. It's probably in the $5,000 at least. And then it's fairly slow. You need to go to a notary. There are a lot of formalities that you need to follow that here don't exist. And so, like everything in life, there are good and there is the positive and the negative side of the coin.
Yeah, I think we can keep moving on past this, but I think one crazy story someone told me, I think it's in Germany, in order to close a funding round, you have to have somebody like a notary actually read every page of the documents out loud to everyone who signed or something like that. And it takes like a day. And you just sit there listening and read them out loud. Like there's got to be a better way. Like that's just a little bit ridiculous. Hopefully we're able to figure out. We need like DocuSign for European, figuring out how to get their doc signed faster. So then was there like a certain point then when you decided, okay, I think you said you sold your first company in Italy, and then did you move to San Francisco thinking I want to go to the US and build a startup, or how did that all kind of play out?
So we sold that company that it was in solar and renewable energy. Then I moved to New York and we did something extremely similar here in the US. And then all the assets were acquired by Panasonic, or a company owned by Panasonic. And then during that time, I started being an angel investor. And so I started being connected with people in tech. And after that exit is when I came up with the idea of 8Sleep together with my co-founders.
And I think there's like probably building this thing and getting the first kind of prototypes out was probably a challenge, I'm assuming. Had you done anything like that before? Like, had you ever built a hardware product?
No. And I think the biggest challenge was not even the prototype, because Max, my co-founder and CTO, he's a hacker and he was able to build it fairly fast. I think we lacked the full understanding of how complicated it is to go from a basic prototype to something that you can really manufacture at scale. And that is where we were really blind. And so we built the first prototype. It was working and it was not cool. We were able to raise a bit of money from family and friends. We do a crowdfunding campaign. I think at the time it was the 16th or 17th largest in the world. We sold 8,000 pre-orders. We go through YC, but then manufacturing is not happening. And I had to move to China. So I go to my wife, who is actually one of the co-founders, and I say, manufacturing is not happening. I have to move to China. And she says, when do you go? And I say, tomorrow. And she said, when do you come back? Once I have fixed it. 4 months later. But I did it. And so the people we hired back then are still people we have with us today. But consumer hardware, it's really, really hard, particularly in the early days, because shit happens and you end up burning more money than what you expected. Having good unit economics is really hard. Having repeated purchases is really hard. And the speed of iteration, particularly on hardware, is extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's really slow.
If you miss one generation of the product, you probably need to wait another 12 months if you're really fast. And so that means you need to survive for the 12 months. And so the first probably 3-4 years, they were the toughest. And then as things now really started taking off, particularly with the pod, our technology, things were incredible. The key thing in consumer hardware, you really need to have product market fit or you're not going to make it. If people love your product, then you have the chances to make it. But if it's a nice to have, then you're in trouble.
So you really have to like build and create a new thing, like a new product that people truly love. But it's probably difficult because you can't just, go vibe code an app or whatever and like, oh, it looks like people are using this. You actually have to go and like build this thing. How do you know what to build and like what to do?
And I step back for a second and then I answer, which in the early days is obviously a disadvantage because you're slower and is more risky. But if you really cross the chasm, at that point you have an incredible moat and much more defensibility. So once you reach our stage, you're in a better position because you already went through a pain that very few people can overcome. Then we started with the idea of a cover that was just tracking your sleep. And then as I was doing customer discovery and talking to people about the product, everyone said, look, that is cool, but does it cool? And my partner wants it warm, I want it cold. Does it do that? And literally 100% of the people I was talking to, they were asking for that. And so after we shipped the 8,000 units in pre-orders, we were able to raise money from Khosla Ventures with Keith Boyce and Vinod because they were bullish on the idea. And that is when we built the pod, which is our current technology. And it went from 0 to multiple hundreds of millions in a matter of 4 years, 5 years.
Interesting. So I guess it might be interesting to kind of talk about the fundraising journey, because I think a lot of founders building consumer hardware like this, they probably run into a lot of the things that you run into. How did you raise money for this? It sounds like initially was the first round, it was like people that you knew really well. And then it sounds like you did the crowdfunding round after that.
Yeah. I would say particularly the first 3 rounds, they were really hard. So first we had a family and friends. It was probably $1 million. Then we got rejected by YC twice. But the third time we got in, and after demo day, we raised $6 million in a day. And that was probably the easiest time to raise in the history of the company. Because YC hardware was still very hot. There were investors from all over the world. So it was the right time. Then what happens is that investors start to realize, because there it was immediately after Nest got acquired by Google. And so there was a hype around hardware. A year later, everyone hated hardware because a lot of companies, they were in trouble. Crowdfunding was not working. A lot of companies sold, 6-7 million on crowdfunding and they were going bust. And so investors didn't want to touch consumer hardware, particularly if there was no subscription, which we didn't have at the time. We were able to do a small A. Then we did a B or A1, whatever it was the name, convincing Khosla Ventures. And there is just because Keith and Vinod, they have always been very bullish on sleep. And so they knew there would be a company that could dominate a $1 trillion industry. It was just a matter of finding the right founders. So they gave us the money, and I think we raised around $9 million. Then the next round was Funders Fund. But it was never easy because then we had Valor Equity Partners, first investor in Tesla, and then recently we raised $100 million. So overall, we raised, I think, somewhere between 250 and 300 million, that range. But each round was very difficult. It's not that we had an insane amount of people that were begging to invest. But where we were lucky is that at the end of the day, the people that invested were always some of the best. And the reason was that it was easier for me to convince them that we were the right team than convincing them there will be a massive company in sleep. All these people, right? Keith, Vinod, Trey Stevens, who is the founder of Unreal, Antonio Brastia's first board member of Tesla and one of the closest people to Elon. I didn't have to convince them that there will be $1 trillion company in sleep. I just had to convince them that we could be that company because we're going to work hard and we are the right people. While instead with a lot of other people, it was much harder because they had to be convinced about the business opportunity in general. And so we ended up with some of the best investors in Silicon Valley, if not the best, because of this unique angle.
So that's probably, it's like a trick for fundraising. It's just figure out the people who actually believe what you're doing. And that's like half the battle. Because someone might, because I mean, I'll have conversation with friends and they'll just like, what do you think about that 8 Sleep company? Like, it's just a mattress. Like, there's no way that's a venture backed company. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, is it just a mattress? I don't know. Like, I don't think so. I think there's actually a pretty big opportunity there. Like, you spend a third of your life sleeping. For a lot of people, I mean, your biggest purchase is maybe your home, your car. Mattresses are pretty expensive products that people spend a lot of money on. And I think, especially today, we're kind of at a point where people will spend each incremental dollar of income they have, they will spend it on a luxury good or like something that improves their life. And we just spent the last 30 minutes talking about how important sleep is. So it's like, would somebody pay a couple $1,000s like a year or a month or whatever it is to like be healthier and get more sleep? I don't know. I kind of think the answer is probably. Like, some people would.
If you can get up to 30% better sleep and you're paying $1 or $2 per night, would you pay that? I think the answer is yes. The main thing is, if you look at mattresses, which again, we are not a mattress because we are a device that goes on top of the mattress, but I call them dumb mattresses. And so we go to bed at night and we pretend to fall asleep and wake up 8 hours later fully refreshed. First 8 hours is the equivalent of a trip from Miami to Milan every single day. Just, because we are unconscious. We don't realize how long that time is. But it's literally flying from New York to Milan every single day. That flight is a pretty long flight. So if you can optimize it for $2 a day or $1 a day, I would consider it.
Yeah, like, you think people pay $1,000 to get first class on a flight like that?
Yeah, for one trip, right? Here it's 3 times per month. And second is, there are these mattresses, the latest technology for mattresses was memory foam, which was invented around 1966 in the 60s from the NASA for space. Okay? That is the latest freaking innovation we had in sleep. And we all sleep on these pieces of dumb foam. We have iPhones, we have OpenAI, Elon Musk is taking me to Mars, but we still spend 30, 40 years of our life on a piece of dumb foam that does nothing for us. And that to me is the part that doesn't make sense. And so if for a small amount, I understand our product is still fairly premium, and over time, we will make it more affordable to more people. But the fact that we need technology to enhance our sleep for our health, and our happiness, and our longevity, I don't think is debatable.
So then when you were hiring people and trying to convince people to join you, I don't know how easy that was, but I would assume there's a lot of people that are like, hardware, sleep, is this like a real problem? Like, I want to go join like a B2B SaaS, like whatever company was hot at the time. Was it hard to get people to join, or was like, did you have like a thing that worked really well for hiring people, maybe in the early days and then today?
It was much easier than what you would expect because of our mission, right? At the end of the day, again, we are a healthcare company. We're substantially a wearable company. We just have a different form factor. And so people from Apple Watch or from other wearables companies, they all want to join us because actually we are the only wearable that does something for you. We don't report data. We have our Sleep Butler, which based on the data can do things for you. But now the most interesting thing is the number one way to recruit is these people already have our product and they love it so much. So they're already in tech. They're already doing hardware, I don't know, at Apple, or they're doing software at, I don't know, Meta, whatever. You pick the top company. They have the product. They love it. They see we are hiring and they want to join us. And that is the best way because they already know the product. Then on our side, because we are so hardcore and we work so hard, then it's just a matter of alignment. If you join a sleep, you're on a mission, you're going to war. We need to move as fast as possible to deliver better sleep to millions of people.
Yeah, the mission alignment's interesting. Like I'll try to help a portfolio company hire, and they're just doing some boring like compliance thing or something, and I'll like send it to like I'll try to convince my friend, and they're like, I don't want to do that. Like that seems lame. And so one thing I thought was kind of interesting on the website, you didn't mention it earlier, but on the website it said you launched supplement products, and then you also have like a jet lag supplement. Is that like pretty new-ish?
Yeah, we launched them recently. I travel 250 days a year because I travel across all our offices. So we have quarters in New York, San Francisco, China, Milan, and Boston. And so I developed the product and with Peter Attia, which is one of the greatest doctors. He has a very famous book in terms of longevity. And so we developed these supplements. There is a line of supplements that they help you just to relax and calm down at night. And they don't create any form of dependency. So you can take them literally every single night. And then there is a jet lag supplement. And that is specific for jet lag and is amazing. Obviously, I'm biased, but people should try it because that is very affordable. And so essentially, when you travel based on the delta in terms of time zone, you take more or less capsules and it's going to put you asleep. And you don't feel the jet lag anymore. And so it doesn't matter if I travel to Europe, if I travel to Middle East, whatever. Now I have my plan in our app. There is a whole jet lag protocol that uses all these supplements and you will not feel jet lag anymore.
So how does it work? Does it like release like a melatonin or something, or like change your heart rate or temperature to just like help you fall asleep based on the new time zone you're going to?
Yeah, there are two ingredients. One of the two is melatonin, as you were saying. And so you take 3 capsules if it's the first night, or 2 capsules the second night, or 1 capsule the third night. You adjust the dosage. And based on that, once you take it, within an hour, you will feel super sleepy. You fall asleep. You want to take it at the right time. So whatever is your usual bedtime, doesn't matter. Let's say you land in the Middle East and that you usually go to sleep at 10 p.m. At 10 p.m., you take the 3 capsules the first night. You go through the whole night and you readjust quickly. And then in the app, we also give you a protocol of things you could do in the morning, like sunlight or exercise a little bit when you should eat. And so we really transition you to the new time zone.
Yeah, because I've done a little bit of research around like, you want to eat about 12 hours before you want to wake up. You don't want to eat like 3 hours before bed. So that's probably that's like a self-control thing. Like as if you need to tell the person, give them the instructions and they got to stick to it. So just generally thinking then, is there like an opportunity to do things related to women's health? Because it kind of feels like an underexplored area. Have you done much there yet?
Not yet. That is part of our focus. We are working on that as we speak, and you will start seeing more and more results really next year. And the reason is this. We have seen a lot of demand from women, particularly women going through menopause, because they have hot flashes. And with our product, we can cool them down when they have hot flashes in the middle of the night, and we can help them to stay asleep or go back to sleep. And so literally every woman on earth who is going through menopause with hot flashes, if they can afford our product, they will see a meaningful benefit from it. Just because, again, we can cool you down in a matter of minutes while you're sweating. Then, as a derivative, we have seen a lot of interest from women also during their pregnancy, because their biometrics and their temperature changes during the different trimesters. And so we are working on programs also for women during that period to help them, particularly also with the base, which is designed for snoring, but in reality, a lot of people use it also for just comfort. We even see women using our base to be able to feed the baby after they gave birth, just because it's easier in the middle of the night to raise themselves with the base and then feed the baby. And so there are all these very interesting features that humanize the product and solve a lot of micro problems for women. And we believe we can do an amazing job for that.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I don't know what the specific number is, but I believe women control like 70% of all consumer spending, like every household. Like I think about me and my wife, like it's usually I sometimes have input, but she's usually the one who's like really driving a lot of our decisions. So I feel like that's a pretty big market that you guys can unlock.
Yeah. And what we love is we are a painkiller and not a vitamin. And that is always what excites me. Like another thing we didn't expect is for people with cancer going through chemo and they have hot flashes. I didn't know and we didn't expect. And so now we see a lot of these people buying our product because they have hot flashes while they're going through the therapy of no chemo. So those are the things that make me really proud because some of these people write me and they say, I was unable to sleep for months. Now I can finally sleep again. Thank you very much. That is the best message you can receive as a CEO.
Yeah. And so one thing you mentioned just from like a business model perspective, you mentioned initially you did not have a subscription product. So people would just buy it and then maybe they might come back to get like a new generation of the product, but then at some point you layered in a subscription. How did that kind of work over time?
Well, as we started applying more and more intelligence, as what we were saying before, right? So now we run a lot of computational activities on the cloud, and that has a cost. And that is how we can provide more advanced biometrics, more biometrics in general, and also come back to you with insights. And then this 24/7 Sleep Butler that in real time can adjust things. And so there is really a computational cost. When people say, oh, why this device has a subscription is to deliver all the value that we deliver is because of that. And I think the value is proven in our retention, which is insane. Like literally almost very, very, very few of our customers stop the subscription after 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. And the reason is hopefully we are proving that we can deliver so much value that again, for $1 a night for you and your partner, this is more than worth the money.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's your personal sort of like fitness or health regimen? Like I'm assuming you use sleep. I'm assuming you track and optimize that. What else? What other kind of stuff do you do?
Well, I'm fairly extreme. And so I fast. I usually eat once per day or maybe twice. I definitely skip breakfast. I usually never intake more than 500 calories before dinner, but I train every day. So on average, I probably burn in a day between 3,000 and 4,000 calories.
And you make it all back up at dinner?
Yeah, majority. Then I'm at like 8% body fat. So I'm extremely skinny. I'm at the peak in terms of HRV, which is pretty good for someone who has been running the company for 10 years. So I was able to keep myself in shape. My heart rate is at the lowest it has ever been. As I stated, I train every day. Particularly, I play paddle at a competitive level when I can, or I go to the gym. I do an ice bath every single day. I do probably a sauna 2-3 times a week. And I'm on a keto diet, so I almost never eat carbs except Friday night when I have pizza with my wife. So I'm very regimented. I don't advise, I don't recommend this to many people. People could say I'm a robot, but that is also what helps me to perform and stay stable as we build the company.
Well, and it's probably good that you, as somebody who's like, you're building a company for like a certain percentage of consumers that really wants to optimize this stuff. Like it's probably a good thing that you're constantly just iterating on the different areas that someone might want to optimize their health. And like you're basically you're your own customer in a sense. So it's probably a good thing.
I think the type of guinea pig who is testing things for our audience to then maximize their own sleep, I'm extreme, and I think is fine. And at the same time, I think of my job like I'm an athlete myself. If I want to help the company grow and achieve what we want to achieve, I need to make sure I'm at peak performance. And so I try to treat myself as an athlete for as much as I can.
And I know you You do a lot of like sports car racing. Is that considered a sport, or is that more of like a leisure thing?
I mean, when I do it, is a true sport. It's very competitive. I did a few years ago the 12 hours of Abu Dhabi, where I finished third. But yeah, whenever I can, I race with cars because it's the passion I had since when I was a kid. I don't have a lot of time for that, but it's really good for my brain because it's all about not taking decision quickly and high speed. There is adrenaline. And so, yeah, I love it. So I just work and play paddle and a few times a year I race with cars.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't realize how like physically demanding that is. Like you look at the F1 guys and like they're in very good shape, and it's because it's a super stressful. Your mind is constantly thinking, and you have to be like super quick, the fastest reflexes like of any human in order to do that. So yeah, I think it's a lot harder than people realize.
Two things people underestimate. The first one is the braking. Is almost the equivalent with the cars I drive. You need to put a pressure of 160 pounds ish just with the left leg multiple times. Wow. And you need to go full power. That is one. And the second is particularly in GT cars, inside the cockpit, it gets really, really warm. Like you're probably in the 100 to 110 Fahrenheit. And then you have the helmet and the gear, and you're there performing for a couple of hours at peak performance.
That'd be really uncomfortable for most people.
No, yeah. And so I remember when I stopped racing cars for many years, then I was able to just go back a few years ago. And I was not in the shape, my current shape. And after an hour, right? Because it's a matter of a tenth of a second there. It's not that it's not seconds, it's a tenth of a second. And so if you just become a tiny little bit slower because you just get a little bit tired or you're sweating a little bit too much, you merely lose 0.3 of a second.
Oh, wow. And that's like everyone else you're competing against is probably not missing that 0.3 of a second. So you're like immediately in last place.
Yeah.
Well, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for taking time to come on the show.
No, of course. Thank you for having me. It was a great chat.
And I hope you thought it was a great chat. Thanks again to Numeral for supporting this episode. Head to numeral.com for the fastest, easiest way to stay compliant with US sales tax and global VAT. If you missed it, make sure to check out last week's episode with Rahul Vora, sharing the lessons he learned selling to companies, including going behind the scenes of the most recent acquisition of Superhuman Mail and how he almost died selling his first company, Reportive, to LinkedIn. If you like this conversation, please like, comment, subscribe, and name your Sleep Butler after me. If you don't want to miss a future episode, subscribe to my newsletter, The Split, linked in the description to get each episode plus a transcript emailed directly to your inbox every week. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.